Hi, Alan Stratton from Woodturning. At a recent club meeting, we had a demo on a Hedgehog. I decided to make my own, but I wanted to elevate him just a little bit, do a little bit better, do a little bit my style. I wanted him to be hollow so that you could do something with the inside, turn him into a little box. That also means then I have choices on how to make the box. One that a lot of woodworkers prefer is a suction fit. However, a suction fit always takes two hands to open up. Another option is to thread it. Another great option, make a threaded bushing, goes in. However, then it takes maybe a little bit more to open it up and put it in. But I recently said, okay, well, why don't I make a different style? And I took my pattern from a bayonet mount and designed it up, printed it on my 3D printer. And so this will go together very quickly, very simply, and is easily taken apart. So I decided to use it on this Hedgehog. He's a cute little feller. If I made a slot here, he could be a bank instead of just a box. I think there's a world of possibilities. So let's get to work and make this Hedgehog.
This wood is air-dried cherry. I have roughed it into a cylinder and it is now mounted to my chuck. The end needs trimming and a dovetail tenon. Since the cylinder ends will be important, I swap ends yet again to trim the first end. Though not critical, a line drawn on the cylinder side will help align the ends. I'm marking a new center on both ends just over a 1/4 inch from the original center. Then mount it again between centers on the offset axis. Now for the exciting part. The wood is whipping wildly. However, I'm only aiming to address the Hedgehog's head. My first thought is to keep the end intact to possibly use the original center later. However, as I work the wood, I do not have enough wood for that plan. I change the plan and waste off the excess wood. Then I can leave the nose a bit longer. I will sand off the nose later at an angle, which will also remove the divot from this live center. It's time to sand the face and nose. The center is easy, but the outer edge gets interesting. Now back into the chuck on the remaining tenon at the tail end. I'm trying to size the face to the body. Having never seen a real hedgehog, this may become a new beast. I'm trying to determine how much face versus how much body and rings. I am also blending the face to the body. Now to part off the face part, I will use the first ring as a tenon. Now the head is in the chuck. I need to drill for my bushing. This is a very shallow hole since the bushing needs to mount flush to the end. With the bushing fitted, I can do just a bit of hollowing. This does not to be a big hollow. The Hedgehog does not have a big brain. But then I sand the face and I need to drill a bit deeper. Now the mortise for the bushing will serve as an expansion mount while I fine-tune the head a bit more. Now the back end is in the chuck. The first task is to fit the mating part of the bushing. Same size for the top part. Then swap bits for one for the inner chamber. This one can be as deep as I dare. The risk is the rings as they taper down the back side. This time at least, I will be conservative. Now for the body. I had hoped to use the original cylinder end and the live center to press the head portion into the rest of the body. However, with that change of plan, I cannot turn them together at the same time. So I'm on my own to get consistent rings as I work down the body. I do have a beading tool somewhere, but I think I can use my spindle gouge and skew well. I am using about half the skew as a measure for the bead width. Maybe they are not perfect, but I think they are close enough. I will write off any variation to my Hedgehog being organic. As I get to the back end, I do have to do something else. Fortunately, that mortise for the bushing will also serve on this end for an expansion mount for this end. A rubber stopper on the live center prevents damage and keeps it secure in that shallow mortise. At the end, away goes the live center, and I have to be gentle. Then sand all those beads back and forth and through the grits. I did most of the Hedgehog's nose job on the disc sander. Now I can do the last grits on the sanding pad on the lathe. Then apply shellac. Now to glue in the bushings. But first I'm using masking tape to mark the grain match. I don't want to be under pressure trying to find the match with the glue already spread. I glued in the male bushing first with epoxy. I do not dare glue them both at the same time. If by chance I had some squeeze out onto both bushings, the whole project would be ruined. So, one at a time is much safer, at least for me. Now for a little insurance while I glue in the female bushing. The glue from the male side is hard. Some plastic wrap will give a little more insurance. I'm preferring 30-minute epoxy since it allows plenty of time to mix and apply without hardening. Then let the epoxy harden with a do not disturb sign. The final touch is to sand off the bottom so he will not roll around too much. Then touch up the sanded area, buff the whole thing. Since I do not trust myself to paint eyes, I found some wiggly eyes will serve well. And there he is done. My Hedgehog will double as a box, a little adaptation, and he could be a bank. Since he is hollow, he is lighter, and the weight feels better than a solid hog. He was a bit off axis, but that makes him more endearing. I like the bayonet bushing joint, much easier to do than threads. My Hedgehog is a keeper. But what other possibilities come to your mind? Let me know. Let me know also if I should add the bayonet bushings to my Etsy site. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, and tell your friends about my videos. I appreciate your comments and questions. Every week, I add a new wood-turning video to my website. Always, please wear your full face shield, that's for safety, anytime the lathe is running. It is your last line of defense, as it was mine years ago. I will see you next week with another wood-turning video.